As I work with organizations, I'm finding that most organizations are experiencing a significant leadership challenge that is going undiagnosed. You see, over the last 10, 15, 20 years, we've seen the complexity of our world increase. And with the onset of the COVID pandemic, that complexity dramatically accelerated. And it leaves us asking the question, as the complexity of our world has increased, has our ability to develop leaders kept up with the increases in the complexity of our world? The reality is that they haven't. That means that most organizations are operating at a leadership deficit, where the complexity of their world exceeds their current capacity to navigate that complexity. Now, of course, many organizations are surviving, but none of these organizations are thriving. At best, they're surviving, but many are struggling, some are even suffering, and we're seeing those organizations go out of business. This is tricky to see, or even to feel if you're the leader. Nobody wants to admit that they are in a situation that the complexity of that situation exceeds their capacity to deal with it. Yet, many leaders are experiencing the symptoms of this deficit. These symptoms include elevated stress, anxiety, depression, poor sleep quality. In fact, statistics are finding that leaders in organizations are suffering from depression at twice the rate of the average person. When leaders are feeling burned out, that is a symptom and evidence of this leadership deficit. When we feel like we are just walking through mud, we are unable to make any progress. Again, this is a symptom of the leadership deficit, and ultimately, it leads leaders to want to turn over. Some of the research that I've seen is that 37% of school district superintendents have turned over in the last couple of years. 37%. And they anticipate that another 24% will turn over in the upcoming year or so. Yeah, I wouldn't want to be a superintendent with what has gone on. For most superintendents, they've been having to navigate a world that is way more complex than their capacity to deal with it. And what this leaves us with is really two options, but one is unrealistic. One option is we could wait for the complexity of our world to decrease. That's unlikely to occur. Our only option is to elevate our capacity to deal with complexity. And the only way we're going to get that is through a form of development called vertical development. We've got to upgrade our own internal operating system. The traditional forms of leadership development, which we could classify as horizontal development, adding new knowledge and skills, are not going to make a dent in this leadership deficit. I anticipate that our world is going to grow increasingly complex. That means that we need to focus more deeply on enhancing our ability to navigate complexity. So if this is something that you want to dive into further, if you want to assess the vertical altitude of the leaders in your organization, get a sense of where you're at and how you could level up, let me know. I would love to connect with you.